Today, we are back with another edition of the Ad Podcast. Thanks for joining. And today we have Jonathan Kander. Jonathan is the Chief Marketing Officer of VALR Energy. VALR's making a big splash in the baseball, mixed martial arts, and fight space. And prior to that, he also worked on the iconic sports beverage brand Gatorade. Jonathan, thanks so much for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, let's jump into it. I always like to talk to the audience about marketers' origin stories because, believe it or not, there's a lot of people who watch the show who want to be involved in the industry and want to get their first break. A lot of young people starting off. So, tell me a little bit about yourself. Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to school? And how'd you get involved in sports and beverage marketing?
Sure. So I grew up in Ohio, diehard Ohio State fan. Went to college at Wake Forest, wanted to look at an ACC school just to get a taste of what I thought was the best in basketball, which is generally how a 16-year-old makes their decisions. And throughout that entire time, I always thought I was going to go into investment banking. And I was a math econ major in college, did internships with BB&T and what was then Wachovia before they got acquired. And I hated it. I really did not enjoy what I did. Was going into my senior year and had no idea what it was that I was going to be doing for the rest of my life. And I started doing, I was the VP of like the student fan section at Wake Forest, like the Screaming Demons. So I worked really closely with their marketing team within their athletic department. And, so I had good friendships, and I was talking to one of the guys who became an early mentor of mine and was a little panicked. I was just like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And he was just like, well, what do you think I do? And he's just, I was like, he asked me, like, what do you like? And I was just like, I like sports. But I mean, that way, bye-bye to me a long time ago. He's just like, well, what do you think I do? And I was like, I'm an idiot. I never really thought about it. But yeah, you're at every single football game. You're doing all these things and you have a really fun job. And obviously you're not playing sports, but you're part of the game in ways that I never really thought about, even though I was too in my own way. And so I was able to get a work study job handling event operations and so setting up the stadiums for field hockey, soccer matches, and then helping out with all the in-game sponsorship activations during football games. My senior year, I actually got an unpaid externship at a local high school where I basically handled fundraising for them. It was I went up to the athletic director and was just like, hey, I know you guys don't have any money to do anything, so let me, and you have a million things to do, let me just go up to the local McDonald's and local stores and see if I can sell a couple $100 signs around your football stadium. And basically just did everything I could. But I was just like, you know what, I loved what I was doing. I worked my tail off and was able to get into Ohio University for their grad school program. And I think in large part because I just showed a lot of hustle and a lot of passion. I was able to articulate. I mean, nobody gives a crap that you're a fan of sports. Everybody's a fan of sports, but that I was able to translate that into what about sports business that I really loved, and is how I was able to, brands coming to partnering with these teams to connect with their fans and then elevate their overall experience and fan affinity, and then take advantage of that halo effect to sell more of whatever it is, more cars, more insurance, more checking accounts, whatever the case may be. And I just thought that was really cool how it was the sponsorship side of things that I really loved. It was just no two sponsorship packages were the same. And this was a while. This was over 20 years ago, dating myself. So and it's only gotten smarter and more and less cookie cutter since even then. But it was just it's really cool. You're both your BB&T and your car company are both premier sponsors, but nothing about their package and how they come to life through their partnership with Wake Forest looks at all alike. And I just thought that was really cool. And so from a marketing lens, that's what I really fell in love with. And then that's kind of what I wanted to get my career started with. So I started taking advantage of my math major and was working at a sponsorship research and evaluation agency, and kind of able to take advantage of my natural skill set with data analysis and numbers. Was there for a little bit more than a cup of coffee. I had an opportunity to join GMR Marketing, a full service marketing agency. And the thing that I loved about it was it just expanded what I was able to do and the value that I thought I'd be able to provide for our clients. And I was, again, able to take that natural skill set and kind of unique perspective working with a lot of like really some of the best marketers I've ever worked with, but generally took a different approach to things than I did, just based off of my experience and skill set versus their own, and was able to kind of help drive their business and drive our clients' business through bringing forth like a sponsorship evaluation tool, and that we could take to every single client to help upsell them, but it basically help add value and be able to help them and our clients showcase the value that they're driving from all of their investments that they're making within partnerships. I loved that job and had no intention of leaving, and I got a call by Gatorade. I applied on a whim. I applied for one job in about 4 years.
Wow! And you got the one little window shopping expedition you went on hit, huh?
I mean, honestly, yeah, you're just like, oh, cool. Like a friend who I graduated with, she was working at PepsiCo in purchase, and she knew my job. I made no qualms about it. One of our alumni was previously the head of sports partnerships at Gatorade, and we were out with him on Court Street, and he was asking me what I do, and I'm like, I think you have the coolest damn job I've ever heard in my entire life. I want to do what you do. And so like that job wasn't available, but like a job that reported into the guy who reported into that guy was. And so she sent me notes. She's like, hey, it's your dream job -2 is available. You should apply. So I applied. She put in a word on my behalf. So I kind of got from the big pile to the little pile, and then just went through the interview process, and they offered me a job, and yada, yada, yada. Like I left a job that I loved to move on to something that I was a once in a lifetime opportunity, and it lived up to every expectation. So while there, I got to do a lot of really, really cool stuff, and was there for around 11 years.
It's a good run.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I'm really fortunate and blessed, and I've applied to, in that 11 years, I probably applied to 3 jobs during that entire time. Like I don't like to. I mean, I had no reason to look, but I was there for a while. I was looking for a new challenge. I got to do some really cool stuff, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about it down the line. But I was ready to see if I wanted to do something smaller and build something from scratch that I could call my own. And I got introduced to, I reached out to a friend of mine as I kind of really quietly put my name out into free agency. And with the intent was like, hey, like I want to get back into sponsorship marketing, get back to my roots. I kind of moved away from that, doing more brand marketing and frontline sales roles, which I loved, but was looking to get back to where I originally started my career. And he's like, I don't have anything like that, but like this really crappy idea. And like my founders is starting this new energy drink. We'd love to send you some. Tried it, and I was blown away. I was like, this is really good. And I've had every salty snack and beverage product that's been made over the last decade. And I tried this, and so I never worked on the energy drink side of our business, so like Celsius and Rockstar. So but by extent of my role and level, like I was privy to go to like the AOP presentation. So I got to see like what they were talking about, and you're kind of multitasking, but you learn a little bit around the category and what's growing, what they're doing that's working. You always think about like, that's really cool. How can I take that and shift it over to my own business? And so I was like, well, like what if I took that and tried to sell their product and like at 10 years earlier. And so I knew like the energy drink category was going up. There was a lot of flavor homogeneity and that like there's a big demand for new flavor innovation as the category matured. And this product was a nitrogen infused energy drink that completely distinct from anything that I've ever had before in my 10-year career. I was like,
so is nitrogen, that's kind of the process they make like cold brew coffee, right?
Nailed it. Yep. So like Guinness, think of like a Guinness. You crack it open, they've got the liquid in there, it infuses through there, mellows out the carbonation. I was like, there's something here. It was on trend from a nutritional standpoint. The product tasted awesome, and I was like, and completely distinct to anything else that's out there. I was like, we might have something, or they might have something, and they needed direction as to like how do we bring this to market? How do we define who our consumer target is, and then how do we reach them? So some basic foundational blocking and tackling that I was like, I'd done that before, and so I was like, I think I can help them with this, and took a leap of faith. I was like, it's a great product, team that was really passionate about it, that they had the necessary support to be able to compete. And then the founder, his original company is a signage, branding, and decor agency, so highly invested in sports sponsorships, and that's where they wanted to grow the brand. I was just like, oh, so really was checking every single box, and I was like, oh, shit, I got the decision to make, and so I split a bottle of wine with the wife and started talking about it. I was like, "This is something I think we could do that's really cool," and took the leap, and so here I am now.
Let's go. That's awesome, man. Well, love that origin story and transgression. So, yeah, let's talk a little bit about VALR. So, I love this idea of nitrogen infused. I mean, obviously, it's created the category inside of cold brew. What would you say are some of the benefits? Talk about the user experience and anything else that the nitrogen infused process brings out or enhances, or you think is adding value to the sports drink category.
100%. So we don't market ourselves as a sports drink, but rather as an energy drink. So
Okay,
we're
energy.
competing with
Perfect.
Celsius and
Yep.
Lonnie New, and I always joke like the category where the number 2 player is named Monster, so there's another monster bigger than them, and so that's what we're trying to break into, and really build a place within. But so as you look at the category as a whole, it's a rising tide. Everything is growing right now, but which is exciting. But what's really driving the preponderance of growth are your better for you products. So zero and low sugar are driving so much growth. But then at a functional side, natural caffeine has been a huge driver, and you're seeing a lot of brands that have products within that vein.
I drank one. I drank one yesterday on my way out to get some waves. I won't name who it is, but yeah, I mean that's definitely.
I really appreciate the support.
I will be soon as you send me my case.
It's on my follow-up to do. We will. I'll get your address. We'll get you hooked up. But yeah, and then a lot of consumers drinking product for functional benefits. So like I need an energy boost, but also like a mental and emotional one. So L-theanine is like the number one functional ingredient driver of growth within the category, and our product contains that. So that's like when paired with caffeine, reduces your stress, enhances focus. So we're not the only brand that's doing that. Plenty of others, probably one that you drank, if it was one of the better for you, probably contains some derivation of ingredients along the lines of what we have. What's completely unique and different is the nitrogen infusion. So basically, put it simply, like it's a similar product as anybody else. There's a widget inside each one. So when you crack it open, it makes a cool sound, like the widget activates, infuses through the beverage, and it really mellows out all of the carbonation. And so it's made with real fruit juice, which is unique. But and so when paired with that, it basically, like our orange cream tastes like an orange creamsicle. And like, so there are plenty of, every brand has an orange product that's out there. And it's orange fizz, orange cream, whatever they want to call it. It all tastes the same. Ours completely different and distinct, or like basically a melted fun soda push pop or dream school. Phenomenal. Berries and cream, same thing. Like just really smooth, creamy, like strawberry forward flavor.
Is that kind of the flavor profile you're going for? Is kind of that almost like recreating like a creamsicle, like using the smoothness and kind of the frothiness of the nitrogen process to kind of make that like almost like a, like you talked about, like cracking a Guinness or something like that.
Yeah, it's a creamy dessert flavor.
Wow.
But so much of the category is driven by flavor innovation. And
Yep.
normally you get like really wacky, like citrus kiwi power punch, like that's like really out there. It becomes like they're gonna launch 3 new flavors. You put a ton of emphasis and marketing behind it, and you hope like 1 or 2 of the 3 crack the top 10 so that they can stay inside the cooler door, and whatever doesn't kind of just becomes a tail scoop. So it becomes a drag on the set, becomes a drag on the retailer, and it gets churned out and then replaced by the next innovation. We want to stay in like known flavor profile. So mixed berries or berries, orange, key lime. We're going to be launching a tropical cream, which is pineapple, like really basic, like everybody knows what this is, but it's a completely different take on it overall. And it's flavor innovation, yes, but there's also a functional benefit to it as well. And so so a lot of our athletes, when they drink it, carbonation, like one of the things that I saw from like those past AOP presentations that I mentioned was like a growing number of consumers were drinking energy drinks before or even during like what we call the athletic occasion or the active occasion. And the number one complaint was that they didn't like the carbonation because it's gassy, it's bloaty, indigestion, what have you. But it was either that or coffee or like a pre-workout mix. And so people want something that's ready to drink. They don't want to mix something. They use Celsius or Alani or some of our other competitors. It's like, it's a healthier alternative. I don't like the carbonation, but it works. It does what I need. And it was like, so a lot of our athletes and a lot of our consumers like it as a pre-workout or even during workout because they can drink it. It gives them that necessary energy boost. It's a little bit healthier of an alternative versus some of the other products that are out there. But most importantly, there's no carbonation. So don't feel that bloat, that stretching in your chest, and even like a little bit of indigestion that you can sometimes get with other energy drinks. And so that's been our big differentiator and what's attracted a lot of people over to us. While they drink it at any time, it's definitely that active occasion that we're really leaning into and marketing against.
Awesome. So you guys are replacing even kind of the, morning caffeine routine of folks that maybe would normally reach for coffee or go get an espresso or go to Starbucks. Seems like more and more athletes, especially ones that are cutting out dairy, are kind of even trying to eliminate coffee from the mix. So this is kind of a good basically way to get your caffeine, even if you're not headed to the gym or you're not headed for a like a pump up the endorphins type scenario.
100%. Yeah. I mean, energy drinks are stealing away market share from coffee, like incidences from coffee. They're even starting to dive into like after like the late night where you get a lot of sober curious, like younger kids.
Yeah, that's a great point.
So
I mean,
I playing with all those different areas for sure.
Yeah, I haven't drank in 10 years, and alcohol, that is. And, I do have to go out and do nightlife occasionally, for work. I got to go to a cocktail party or a mixer, and I tend to get up early too. So usually I'm gassed. I'm ready to go to bed and like pull the parrot by 5 o'clock. And on the nights that I do have like an evening occasion, usually I'll like 3 or 4, maybe even right before I go, I'll drink an energy drink on the way to whatever like the nightlife activity is. So that's another interesting target and group of people to target for sure. I think is super interesting. All right, so let's get into the sports marketing story, because I read a couple of cool things, and obviously that's what you were brought on with your background. Your investors are invested in that segment as well. So what I read is you guys, have really thought about like a couple of areas are important to your early stage growth, which is the mixed martial arts or fight category. And then you guys are also now inside of MLB with a partnership with the Pittsburgh Pirates. So do you want to maybe talk about those two, but just, maybe a little bit more generally to your background and your strategy as really going all in on sports?
Totally. And so, I mean, part of it is going to be very practical of like, cash flow is king, especially for a young brand. Everything is king, but cash flow is one of those things. And so for the Professional Fighters League partnership, that came about, started with our founding company. Basically, they do all the signage, branding, and decor for the PFL, or they starting this year. And so we signed a partnership with them. So it's like, as energy drink is a very saleable category, and they were basically able to take like, hey, we're going to handle all of the back end infrastructure, signage, branding, with fabrication and installation. It's taking it from whoever had that business before. And so if you spend $1 there, just start it here. That became like it's a big win for Paramount, and then B, it becomes a big it becomes a great driver for us to like get a lot of exposure for our energy drinks. So all their matches are broadcast on ESPN. So we get a national audience to support our launch, and we're able to pay for it with basically investment on the Paramount side, just because I mean, especially early days without any brick and mortar retail distribution, near impossible for us to drive a return on that type of investment. But it was the signage branding side that was able to allow us to do something kind of cool before we were probably ready to get the word out about our brand in a big way. And we are constantly hearing anecdotal feedback in the brick and mortar retailers wherever. It's like, oh man, I saw you guys on this thing, or people reaching out to us on social or buying it online. Like, I got to try this. I've seen so much about it. Yada, yada, yada. So early days, but that allowed us to get our foothold in there differently than I think any other energy drink who's owned by just like a private company, like a private individual, or like a offshoot of like another nutritional brand would it be able to do. Same thing with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Similar background in terms of like the signage and Paramount, etc. But we were able to create a co-branded SKU and package that with a Pittsburgh Pirates partnership to be able to break into Giant Eagle. And what that effectively allowed us to do is sell a lot of energy drinks, but then get data that we can use to expand and sell into all other retailers. So it becomes like basically a proof point of like product market fit for nitrogen infused energy and consumer interest in it. And when supported with, and when people see it and when people are aware, like that becomes a big driver of growth overall. So we're taking a big foothold in Pittsburgh, and then in the Midwest and Northeast, so like that Pennsylvania tri-state area, and then into states that are shouldering Pennsylvania, or shouldering Pittsburgh and PA, to really drive in and try and grow the brand as an initial foothold before we start to further.
Okay, that's awesome. So this is what we call like a kind of a sweat equity or like an in-kind deal. So basically you've got this parent company and your investors already have a business relationship with both the Professional Fighting League and the Pittsburgh Pirates. And then you guys are able to basically leverage those relationships into some kind of an in-kind or preferred partnership that wouldn't have been available without those relationships ahead of time. Got it. Okay. And then those kind of offer as proof of concepts and a way for you guys to get in your foot in the door. Now, were you fully direct to consumer only, like pre both of these partnerships?
Yes. Yeah. We launched this year on Amazon, as well as on and then a few months later on our website. And that was all just shortly after I joined the brand.
Okay. And then how about now? Are you guys starting to open up to retail partners, or are you still mainly focused on DTC?
Yes, it's a yes and everything needs to work. So we're in Giant Eagle, and then we just launched in ShopRite, and then a couple of weeks ago, leveraging some of the successes that we saw right out of the gate to move into there, and then we're in review for spring 26 reset in several thousand, like probably about 2,500 to 3,000 stores. We're not going to nail all of them, but we're in final planogram review with several already, and then still in discussion with a few others, all predominantly within the regional grocery side. And then we're also just recently authorized Core-Mark, the largest C-store distributor in the country. And so we'll be partnering closely with them and their regional reps within that like right triangle of geography that I mentioned earlier, to grow within the C-store channel alongside regional grocery, and then separate things that we're doing, fitness centers.
Okay, awesome. So, I've done a handful of early stage sports partnerships on a direct consumer wine brand that I was a fractional executive for a while here in San Diego, called Los Cuernos. We became the official wine of the San Jose Earthquakes, the San Diego Wave female soccer team, and most recently with the San Diego State athletics department as well, which kind of was interesting. It did a bunch of things for us, and I would love to hear your feedback on how, you know, this is maybe helping you guys as well. But for one, it opened up the venue as like a retail partner, right? So like our brand was actually, it was not just a marketing and sponsorship deal, but it was also a retail deal. So we became the official canned wine of these various organizations, and we were the only wine you could buy at these massive accounts. But the other thing that was really interesting about it is it allowed us to take the IP and the naming rights, et cetera, of whatever. If we were doing like San Diego Waves, then we could go to, you know, liquor stores or QSR restaurants or bottle shops within the San Diego area, and we could put up San Diego Waves, you know, partnership stuff at our point of sale and in our displays and merchandising rack. So were you guys able to get like similar firepower like on the merchandising side and the account side in addition to, you know, some of the branding and sponsorship opportunities?
Yes, 100%. And we work with our distributor to. They've done a phenomenal job partnering with us to get point of sale in every single store where we are carried, to reinforce and drive home that message, because our awareness is still teeny tiny. And so they do an awesome job, and we incentivize, like, let's get, hey, when we get on shelf, like, let's support with a shipper inside there that's going to have like official energy drink of the Pirates, and like, really reinforce and drive that. And then we provide a, and then we have an incentive program to make sure that that execution is consistent, and then and really break through at the point of purchase. And then with the Pirates themselves, they've been phenomenal in providing us the right asset mix that allows us to get cans in consumers' hands, before their biggest games. So that way we're able to help from a sampling standpoint, and then be able to direct traffic over to where our product is available for purchase. It's also available inside the venue, where we've actually seen a pretty strong traction overall. And then obviously, with baseball, there's a ton of opportunities for like TV visible signage to drive a ton of viewership. And while the team hasn't necessarily performed on the field, it's the Midwest, and they love our sports, and so their viewership is still like top 3, I think, in MLB, if I'm remembering from our couple of weeks ago we met. So team is like maybe bottom 3 in the league, but still top 3 in terms of household viewership. So it's like, it's pretty remarkable how passionate that market is and that city is for their team, which is awesome, because then we get a ton of visibility overall for it. And then the last thing that has been really successful is, and this is going to get back to my old Gatorade days, is having product available in the clubhouse. So we see a lot of pickup, just like anecdotal pickup, like there's like player rights, etc. Usually we don't have any direct athlete partnerships, but like you just see pickup in the locker room after a big win. Like you'll see VALR in the background, and we catch it and we comment on it every darn time that you see it up there. So those are, and it's that, as we try to tie ourselves as a functional energy drink, and that, you know, the best choose to use the best, and that there is, you know, they can have any product that they want, and they are choosing to have VALR. So it's not just us handing them a check and then they put up some signage. It's like, no, like their players have the product. It's in their locker room. It's in their individual lockers. You see them drinking it on social during like team celebrations, etc. So that is like a choice that they are individually making, and we happen to be the beneficiary.
Yeah, that's awesome. And obviously having the drinks in the locker room and getting that organic pickup is awesome. You know, so much of sports marketing these days is about, you know, player and athlete storytelling. You know, all these guys are creators with their own media companies and their own social media teams running around capturing content. Like the days of having a social feed where it's just like your outtakes from the game and your stats and like a few pretty pictures on Instagram are kind of over. Like these guys are all multifaceted entrepreneurs and media brand producers, et cetera. So does that kind of product sampling opportunity, do you think, naturally lead into the ability to partner with athletes downstream as you guys continue to grow?
100%, and just provides greater opportunity to activate your team partnerships, and then add a level of authenticity. I think consumers are smart. They know, like, when they see like a car company, that a car that's on the, on the outside of the venue, like, they know they paid money to put that car there, and if they like the car, great. And obviously that promotes themselves as a community partner, and we're happy that you're investing within the community, but they know why that car is there. Like, it wasn't just like the team loves Lexus and they're just going to put Lexus out there. I'm sure they do, but like, there was a monetary part of it involved. And for us, and like, as we continue to promote ourselves as a functional energy drink, and they see players drinking it in like that, like a true authentic, like, anecdotally picked up on social, like, and then we're commenting on it and making sure people recognize, hey, that dude, that's what that dude is drinking, like, that definitely helps and adds a level of authenticity. And then as you kind of talk around those like extensions downstream with athletes, like, yeah, I mean, like, nowadays, like, you're no longer just partnering with the star player of a local team, but you're partnering with both the athlete as well as the person. And so that allows you to really show how they are integrating those brands into their daily lives and showcasing it through their social platforms. And you can partner with them in more ways than just like, hey, these are the charities that they're involved with and that they're passionate about. And we also find great value in our partners and passionate about those things as well. And so there just becomes a lot of synergistic opportunities to add and expand those partnerships to take advantage of who they are as a person, and then the audience reach.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what about Professional Fighters League? Is it still just a league level sponsorship through kind of this quasi in-kind relationship that your investors have, or are you down to like fighter level deals and kind of rolling things out at a more micro level in that category?
We do. We have a couple fighter partnerships just to help us amplify and activate our partnership. It's entirely with people that are local to Florida, and one of them, Dakota Decheva, just won one of the biggest fights of the year, and she just announced her re-signing with the PFL, and basically will continue to be the face of the sport as one of the best, if not the best, like, female fighter alive. And she uses VALR when she's training, and not because she do so, but because she really likes the product. And so we actually seeded and sourced a lot of our partnerships based off of PFL seeding out to the players and saying, who likes this? And then the ones that said, like, yeah, we love this. This stuff is really good. It's like, awesome. Let's start to build on that and build a relationship and a partnership from there. And then that just continued to grow. We're also partnered with Dalton Rasta, who's going to be fighting for the middleweight championship belt in Florida next month. And same deal, like, a truly organic partnership. And that guy, he probably drinks like 3 or 4 of them a day. But it's like, he loves it. And we've been able to do some really cool stuff. And he's been, like, after his first fight, after his first victory in their world championship tournament, he actually jumped up onto the cage. We tossed him up $2 and he stone cold celebrated those things, like, cracked him open, like, dumped it all over, went viral, absolutely blew up, and became a huge driver for him. Like, he starts to become, like, known for that stone cold celebration. And then obviously we got to draft alongside that. So again, it's one of those that it formed because they really liked the product. They wanted to use it and integrate it into their workout routine and their nutritional routine. And we were able to, and they were local, so we were able to film content with them and be able to, storytell around that authentic.
Yeah, I love that. I love that idea of, authenticity, that you guys didn't just go and try and find the biggest people with the biggest social following in order to activate at that partnership. You actually leveraged the league relationship, had them help you get the product in the hands of some of their top stars, and then the people who responded back having a good experience with the brand. They liked it. It tasted good. They felt like they could actually use it in their day-to-day, came back to you and said, hey, we'd really love to work with you guys. So the league itself actually was the one that provided the opportunity for the sampling opportunities, or did you guys have to go and like hunt all those guys down?
They helped us. So they have partner gyms across the entire country. One of them is American Top Team in Florida, which is, like a driver away from where our headquarters is at. And so they worked through those partner gyms to see product to their athletes, and then made the appropriate connections where it's like, hey, y'all probably want to talk to this person right here. Like, they love your product. And we're like, okay, so we kind of just.
That's great. I mean, you don't always hear about, leagues being that level of partners with their brand sponsors. I mean, to some degree, there's an expectation, but a lot of times, you get the deal done at either the league or the team level, and it's kind of up to you to figure out how to activate around it. So it sounds like there's a good level of support there.
We knew the head of partnerships at both the Pirates as well as the PFL before we, got married. And so there was a level of trust that was built through my counterpart, who heads up revenue for both VALR as well as our parent company, that we're like, look, they're not going to cash a check and then we'll see them again in 3 years when the deal's up for renewal. Like, we knew that they were going to be phenomenal partners and support our brand, because I mean, we're a small but mighty team, and so they recognize that they've been phenomenal partners.
Nice. Any partnerships that we didn't talk about already, or anything in the pipeline that you want to tease out?
A few things in the pipeline. I'll leave it to tease out once we have true news to be able to share, because as I mentioned, like, part of these partnerships is that we need to have a place to sell product at. Otherwise it's going to be really difficult, and so I don't want to put others on the hook before we get officially authorized and go distribution.
Totally makes sense. I love it, man. Well, love the strategy, and we'll continue to watch. I think it's a really smart master class, and kind of like, it's so hard when you're generating multi-tier distribution models, to where you're trying to get into retail, you're trying to open up key accounts, trying to make these sponsorships really work for you, but a lot of it comes down to like what markets are available before you can execute on it. So I've been there before on the wine side, and totally get it. So all right, you've had over a 20-year career spanning brand marketing, sponsorships, sports, and business. We've talked a little bit about your origin story, but what keeps you passionate about this space, and how do you continue to stoke that passion?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a really blessed, fortunate career, and while I was, I mean, I think sometimes, like, I've applied for like 4 jobs in my life, 5 if you count the first one that I got into. Like, so like I've never really felt the need to jump ship, and I always feel like anytime that my friends do, it's because they've been doing the same thing. They're not learning anything new, and it's like, I think we're all too young at any age to stop learning. And I've been really lucky that within my career, like, it's either a dream job opportunity that presented itself, or when I was at Gatorade, like, I got to jump around and got to do a lot of really cool stuff. So I started on a sports marketing team, and then I raised my hand and said, like, I want to grow as a marketer, as a professional. And there was an opportunity to lead our sports drink team as a brand marketer, and I got to launch Gatorade Zero, which became the fastest growing brand.
Wow, that's cool.
I led the initial launch. Other people took it to that stratosphere, but like, that was a really cool project that I got to lead, working directly with our GM, as that was obviously a critical, like, we got to nail this, or we got to nail this thing and do it right type of deal. And it was awesome. So I got to learn more things than I could ever recount, and partner with everybody within the organization to bring that one to life. From there, I got to do other really cool stuff and finish my career leading our athletic equipment business. And it was one of those, there was what we saw as a white space opportunity to drive incremental growth, and took on a side project that our leadership team was really kind to let us do, as long as you kept doing your day job, and we were able to grow that from like an $8 million to $200 million brand over the 5-year period. That was part of what made me want to leave to do something else, and like take this on, was just like, hey, like, I mean, I wasn't being an entrepreneur. I was selling something with the G-Bolt logo on it. Like, it's like a cheat code as far as entrepreneurship is concerned. But like, I got to do something that was teeny tiny by PepsiCo standards. I mean, we would kill me an $8 million brand now, but but by their standards, like that was like a hobby of a hobby, and we grew it to something that was really cool. And and you talk about what keeps you passionate. Like, I want to do that again. Like, that was awesome. I loved every second of that journey where you were constantly trying to win today, plan for tomorrow, and balance everything in between there. And it was cool. It was exciting. It was scary, and it was awesome. And it's that energy that I'm trying to take to this next stop in my career and see how things continue to.
I love it. It sounds like that's kind of a through line for, especially the work you did at Gatorade. Was you were kind of like a bit of a startup guy or an innovations guy within the Gatorade, doing product launches like Gatorade Zero or the athletic equipment business. That's an interesting dynamic, as you mentioned, because it's big expectations and also big resources, and also like the traditional architecture of like a giant corporation like a PepsiCo. What's been the biggest challenge from going to a massive, top 50 global conglomerate CPG beverage brand down to more of a startup environment? What's been the biggest challenge from going from, there to where you're at today?
Yeah, I mean, it's creating processes where one didn't exist, and that's not sexy at all, but it's critical. And I mean, even at Gatorade, when we're selling water bottles with the G-Volt logo, I mean, it was small. We were selling at the time, it was just a green bottle we sold for $5. It's really good. We're so proud of it. But like, you only make so much money on every single one, and you need to sell a lot times a lot to make them really care. And so, but we were able to create a business and a process that allowed us to scale. But we already knew who our consumer target was. We knew how to go to market. I knew how to sell it in, and then how to get it into the stores. Once we did that, we're creating all of that from scratch right now. And there's some basic blocking and tackling that I'm able to bring over. It's like, look, you need to work with these people, this type of individual, to be able to get here, to get to the end consumer. But like, we needed to build all of that and build up that infrastructure right from the jump in order to be able to bring the product into market, and then in a way that's going to allow us to scale down the road. Because if you create a one-off solution just to get it into Giant Eagle, then create another one-off solution to get it into ShopRite, and then yada yada yada, like you're done. So we were able to that's been a lot of the infrastructure building that we were able to do quickly, and that I had a lot of experience in, and part of why I think that they wanted to bring me over to help them out.
Love it. And what's been the most exciting part of going from a big organization with a lot of process, a lot of standard operating procedures, to a startup environment where there's less red tape, less handcuffs? Like, what's the most exciting part of that transition?
Like, I mean, the first case you sell is awesome. Like you just is so damn exciting. And I go back to like when I first was at Gatorade, and we sold in, we were previously selling $5 squeeze bottles, and then we created the colored GX water bottle that we're trying to sell for $20. And we got like 100 store pilot at Dick's, and I was through the moon. I was like, holy crap, like this is it. And it took off, and it grew from there. We got to do the same thing here, but like at an even more micro level. Like, we are in the process right now and like finalizing selling to like 6 franchises at a local gym. Heck yeah, like we're going to do like 20 cases, and then we're going to celebrate every single one. And that's really, really cool. In the meantime, like, we got into Giant Eagle, and they took a giant bet on us, and we're hopefully helping them pay that off. But like, that's really cool. That's really exciting. And it started as a 70 store pilot. Like, heck yeah, let's grow from there, and let's make that 200 store pilot, make that 200 stores, and then expand it to everywhere else in the Midwest in between now and however long it takes to get there. So being able to celebrate every single win, and that's something I took away from my previous life, is like, celebrate every win. It's bit by bit, it's little by little. We're not going to become a $100 million brand tomorrow. So let's celebrate the journey from 0 to $1 million, 1 to 5, 10, what have you, and and we've been fortunate enough that we've been able to rack up a lot of small wins, and then we celebrate the heck out of every single one of those.
What's your breakdown of Amazon versus your own customers on the e-commerce channel, if you wouldn't mind sharing? Like, how much is Amazon versus what you're able to sell to consumers directly?
Yeah, right now Amazon's about like probably some between 15 and 20% of our sales. Our goal is to be less dependent on D2C, just because it's obviously there's a lot of fees. It costs a lot of money to ship liquid across the country, and so but that's where we're at.
I think it's smart. I mean, I think Amazon is so important for beverage because it's the mindset of the consumer. Like, like people don't like to pay extra for shipping and it's heavy stuff. But if you can just click Amazon and it feels free, the shipping feels free, it's more manageable. But then, as you get into more and more grocery, whether it's like Walmart delivering beverage to your front door or Instacart or going out to retail, I think, and then also just like the environmental impact, right? I mean, I guess it takes energy to get it everywhere, but at the end of the day, I think it's just the consumer's mindset of like free shipping or the perceived tax of shipping beverage. It makes more sense in an Amazon environment.
100%. It's tough to brand build on Amazon, but it's a great place to build awareness. And so that's why we've really leaned in hard within there, and balancing the profit challenges with the like, this is where the fish are. So we better, like this is where we're going to be best to be able to cast a net from on the D2C side. In the meantime, like the more often than not, like instead of buying 12 on Amazon, somebody's just going to go into a local store and buy one. And that's more often how you're going to be able to sell most of your product, but you can still drive a lot of awareness and be where a lot of people, a lot of people are on Amazon. They're searching for everything in there. So it's a great place. It's a great tool and a great awareness driving app.
Yeah, almost feels like Amazon has to be thought of in the early days as like your sampling channel in a way.
100%. Yeah, that's what our founder said. I was just like, let's just make sure we break even on every single one of these things, so we're not losing money. But it becomes, it is as much a sampling driver as well as like a way to like, we believe strongly in our product and like getting people out there to like sample it, and like we push them to make a review, and it becomes a validator for future purchase, where it's just like, oh man, they got like 4.8 stars. Like, okay,
good validator, maybe even interesting data over time of like what markets to be thinking about next, etc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got some great product feedback.
Love that. All right, what's one piece of advice you would give to marketers or entrepreneurs who want to get into the performance or the wellness space?
I think ultimately it's, a good question. I think ultimately, like it's really easy to launch a brand. And so as you kind of go in there, we just said it, like it takes a couple of clicks to get it on Amazon and or create a website. But it's really, really difficult to scale. And so what I did before I came over to VALR, like I had them send me a couple cases of product. I tried them. I thought they were really good. And again, I've had a lot of products, but I'm also a 40-year-old like guy that's like probably not our target market for this product. So I also took it to our neighbors. Have a college student. She was back over that weekend when I got it. I was like, hey, can you try this and take it over to like 5 of your friends? Let me know what they think. And she took it over to them and tried it, and I was just like, so it became like a validator of like, cool that I like it, and I want to work on brands that I like, but I also want to make sure that like her and the person she's the person I'm trying to sell. What does she and her friends think of it too? And they also came back like, this is really good, and they all drank other competitive products, and they're like, I might switch out. Like, this is really good. Where can I get this one? Well, you can't right now, but let me get back to you. And so basically, yada yada yada. Make sure that you can validate product market fit, and know who your consumer is. Know that you're solving a need that's out there, because there are a ton of products that are going to be promoting health and wellness, and everything is becoming, there's more and more brands, even like the biggest ones, are removing artificial colors from their products, and they're moving more and more into, Pepsi just launched
I saw that the other day.
They're removing artificial dyes and artificial colors for every single product, and I don't know if that means like bye bye to the fruit roll up, like, not for me to say, but like everybody's starting to become and pick up that it's like consumers are demanding more from their products. And so if you're going to launch a new product in there and try to compete with these Goliaths, like make sure that there's a product market fit and that you're solving a need that exists within the marketplace, and that you have the ability to get it out to them and scale it.
Yeah, no, I think you bring up an interesting point. You've got Poppy that recently went out at a pretty good multiple. I think it was to Pepsi as well. But then at the top of the funnel, you have Pepsi launching their own prebiotic soda. I think about my own user behavior and just like the trust that I have in kind of these up and coming direct to consumer brands that kind of like built the categories. And then you think of like a bigger brand like Pepsi maybe launching into a space where they're kind of known for like, a sugary drink. What do you think is the better strategy? Do you think it is the roll-up strategy to continue to acquire your, consumers at the bottom end, which can be really expensive when these guys eat your lunch? Or do you think a brand like do you think a brand like Pepsi has the right, I'd say, like brand values to be able to launch a drink like that successfully into the market?
I mean, Pepsi has, I think I would say this, like, I have no doubt that I went from the most data rich, I always joke, I went from the most data rich company to the most data poor company that exists out there. And so I have no doubt that they have a ton of validating research that shows like, that they have a right to win within this space, because they wouldn't launch this in parallel to purchasing Poppy. And basically, if it was all it was going to be was cannibalistic to each other. So I have no doubt that they have every right to win within there. And then it becomes one of the things that Poppy did really well was they almost created as much about a product as it was a lifestyle. And so how does PepsiCo? Are they going to try to mimic that? Are they going to try to break through the mold or break through maybe some prior established norms or expectations around who their brand is and start to create like its own unique brand within the PepsiCo environment? Because I mean, if it's just PepsiCo prebiotic, I don't think that's going to work. But depends. But it's all about how do they bring it to life? How do they talk to the consumer about it? And how do they differentiate it from and make sure that they can establish that it is something unique, creative fervor, a lifestyle as another lifestyle brand within that space that can be complementary to what they're bringing to
I think that's great, especially if they're like doing it from the perspective of like altruism, like, hey, we want to bring a healthier product to our existing core brand of Pepsi, and we want maybe Pepsi consumers that are today drinking products that are not as good for you, maybe they will try this because it's being marketed to them under the Pepsi logo, which they've known and they've grown up with and they have an affinity for, versus Poppy, which maybe is looked at as like a health food thing that you find at Whole Foods or something like that.
Yep. 100%.
Very cool. All right. You've been known for solving big problems in a creative way. Can you share a time when you had an unconventional idea or a risky idea that paid off in a major way?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say like, so when I'll go into a little bit of detail on like when we launched the athletic equipment business. I mean, it wasn't a whim, but Gatorade is an $8 billion brand. And when I first joined 11 years ago, it was us and Powerade, and then there was this little ankle biter Body Armor. But generally speaking, we were at like an 80 market share. And the trades measure the brand off of market share, for better or worse. And so over the time, like you just saw a lot of new brands that were coming in. So Body Armor started to build up a ton of traction. The partnership with Kobe Bryant obviously added a lot of fuel to what was already a little bit of a simmering fire. But then you saw Prime start to come into play. And several other like isotonics and sports drinks, enhanced water started taking off in an even bigger way. That was all stealing share away from the brand. It was still growing, but they needed to find new revenue streams. And so we looked, and we didn't just turn exclusively to athletic equipment, but we looked at creating a more natural product. We talked a little bit around that PepsiCo and prebiotic. Like, how do we create, like, we saw Body Armor kind of showed like, hey, we had a little bit of there was a gap in our portfolio on the natural side. So the team worked to launch Gatorade Fit. There was opportunity for more electrolytes. So we were constantly looking for new revenue streams, but all of it was all within like basically this.
Yeah, you're still kind of cannibalizing these micro communities or these micro brands that are going after more specific niches.
100%. And so I was at the time, I was sitting on the desk of like all of our sporting goods businesses or sporting goods accounts and leading our frontline sales teams that were like reaching out and selling into colleges and universities, high schools. And so I did a lot of like just, budget to like do research, but I was going there, I was looking at every single one of our consumers and they all had a Gatorade, like a green Gatorade bottle in one side pocket of their backpack. And then they, generally speaking, had the Yeti or saw on the left side was like, it was all a bunch of different colors and they all had stickers on every single one of them. And it was like hyper personalized. And I was like, we can do this on the athletic equipment side. Like, and we started thinking like, if I played on the black team, why would I drink out of a green bottle? I should drink out of a black bottle. And everybody was writing their name somewhere on there with like scotch, like masking tape on there or scotch tape on there. And like, was writing their name on there. I was just like, we didn't tell them to do that. Everybody was just kind of doing that. So it's like, what if we gave them a place to put their name on it? And then created a unique formula and a way to consume Gatorade as a result of it. And that's how we launched GX. And so that's what we presented up to leadership was just like, what's cool about it was like, I don't want to sell this at Kroger, or right out of the gate. Like, I want to sell this at Dick's Sporting Goods. And that's where our shopper is shopping. Like, they don't go on the weekly shopping trip with mom or dad to Kroger. Like, that sounds like that's like, but they are going to Dick's on a quarterly basis for the start of the next sports season. Like, how do we build up cool with those shoppers in a way that hopefully translates to them wanting to drink more Gatorade, and have something that's we can make some profit off of a new revenue stream. At the time, like, we didn't think it was going to take off the way that it did, but we did a 100-store pilot at Dick's Sporting Goods, and we sold through in a week. And then we quite literally got a call. It's like, how quickly can you get this into every single one of our stores? So it's just like, we've got a good problem to solve here. Like, but that was honestly how it went. Like, the buyer called me up. Like, we launched, got into their stores on Monday. I got a call back the next Monday. It was just like, this blew up. We're going to place a big replenishment order. How quickly can we scale this chain wide? Like, so we went to so that's how it came about. But it was just like, it all kind of started with like an anecdotal insight, and seen as like, hey, there's a problem to solve. How do we create new revenue streams that is incremental to our total business, as opposed to creating another sports drink that is going to be, like 20% incremental to the base. And that's effectively how that kind of came about. So ultimately, I think kind of comes down to determining what is the problem to solve, what is your consumer looking for, and then trying to find a solution.
Yeah, I love that. And just the idea that, the sporting goods store was this place where the actual consumer was showing up, not mom, who's the chief household officer who buys, beverage for the family, but you're kind of getting them at that, that other point of sale, like around the actual thing that they carry around with them. And it's the other thing about these water bottles, right? And the insight that you picked on is they're like these walking billboards, right? They're essentially an opportunity for you to be front and center and front in mind of the consumer, but then also on the desk of every, person who identifies as an athlete, as they go to the office and they've got their, their beverage bottle on their desk or at school in their backpack, like you had clued into, or at the gym. It like becomes this like brand as a billboard opportunity as well, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's the Nike model. Everybody's walking around advertising Nike everywhere that they go. And yeah, our number one thing was like, how do we win space in the book, in the backpack, and then space on the sidelines. And that's kind of how it blew up, and it really took off. I love it.
There. All right, well, we're coming up on the 1 hour mark. What are you most excited about the future of the work that you're doing at VALR? What does the next year look like, and what's got you excited?
I mean, I think everything has me excited right now. Everything is so new. Everything is new for us, and so every day brings a new challenge, new opportunity, and hopefully some new wins within there. So for us, like, I'm really excited about continuing to perform within the retailers that took a chance with us. and allowed us to sell within their stores, and then which furthering opportunity for us to expand. What I'm really excited about is we're in the midst of 2026 planning season, and so with some of the new retailers that we're optimistic that we'll go into creating, we're so young, like we can create like bespoke campaigns to support and celebrate a launch within every single one of those banners, to be a great partner for them for continuing to take a risk on a younger brand, but then build anticipation, build buzz, build excitement within each of those different local markets that we've identified as being priority for us, and then coming across as a local brand, as a local entity and a local brand, just by the way that we're able to come to market before we further scale and become a national brand in 3, 4, 5+ years. So I think now that we have a little bit of moment to start planning, and be thoughtful about how do we handle each of these upcoming launches. We've been successful, but I think there's even a further opportunity of us to really do it right and really lean in even further, learn and grow from some of the initial ones that we did, and make it even better next year. And so those are the opportunities and the challenges that I really love, and we're going to continue to allow us to
love it, Jonathan. If people want to order some VALR or learn more about the company, where do you want to send them? And if you want to send people to connect with you directly, where should people check you out?
Yeah, so LinkedIn, you can find me, Jonathan Kander. I'm pretty easy to find. Go to our website, valrenergy.com. We can save a couple of margin points from Jeff Bezos in the process. He's good. He doesn't.
He's
He
good
doesn't
for
need
sure.
but yeah, you can go there. You can learn a lot more about the brand, value proposition for nitrogen infusion, and hopefully you think it's something worth.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks again for coming on today. For those of you at home, if this is the first time you're watching the show, don't forget to give us a follow or a subscribe wherever you're watching or listening to the show. And most importantly, if you give us an honest review, that's how the audience finds the show more organically on podcast platforms that they listen. And then would love it if you would share the show with another sports marketer or somebody involved in the energy drink marketing space, or just somebody who you think would gain value from the conversation that I had with Jonathan today. And with that, Jonathan, we'll go ahead and let you go, man. Thanks again for coming on.